More cries of sexism in the guitar community, more bad journalism in the guitar community, and I will say it if no one else will, Polyphia sucks. All that next on
Shitpost Friday.
Hey, how's it going, good and sexy people? Brad the Guitarologist here. It is once again Friday, and I know I said I wasn't going to probably do any more Shitpost Fridays because the 2 of the 4 that we have come back with since I discontinued this 3 years ago, 2 of the 4 were not just demonetized, they were ad restricted, which means usually they're restricted, no advertising will show on them at all. They weren't age restricted, but I think if you are not signed in, it's quite possible you might not even see them in your feeds at all. When videos like that become ad restricted, what it does, it has a knock-on effect for the channel. This is why it was so frustrating when I stopped doing these a few years back, because trying to keep up with everything that YouTube expected of you was just not worth it. It was getting really, really difficult to manage. And, you know, all this is coming back to me now. It's reminding me how much it sucks to try to keep all this in mind, everything that's expected of you on YouTube. But you know, if you want to see more of these, you're going to have to pony up and start supporting these. Whether you do it with direct donations of PayPal, which is what I prefer, you can do that down below. I've got t-shirts and stuff like that you can buy, merch down below. There are links for all this stuff down below. A lot of you have said, hey, we want SPF back. Well, here it is. If you don't support it, it's not going to stay back. The problem is the model that I had for this show was that it was going to be ad supported. So, and that's the model for my channel in general, is that, you know, that's how I grew this channel, was completely ad supported. The YouTube ads that they display, and also ads that I would sell myself. I've lost one sponsor. I actually reached out to and tried to give them a free ad, and they refused because they don't want to work with me anymore. And I wonder why that might be. What has happened in the last couple years? What are some of the things that I've said, you know, that might have, you know, caused them to back off a little bit? So, you know, that's just part of it. And I get it. And I totally get, I'm not coming down on them. I get their position. But it's still nonetheless hurtful when you hear from a longtime sponsor that, you know, they don't want to work with you anymore because of, you know, you have too much baggage, essentially, which again, I totally understand. I am an outspoken individual. I don't pull too many punches. And that's just the way it is. When you don't pull punches and you're not a boring person, you're going to get this sort of thing. First of all, the mic of the week this week is an Audio Technica AT4040. If you like the sound of this thing, which I do like the sound of this, comment below and let me know. Some of the other microphones that we've done in previous weeks, including this guy, we're going to do a revisit on some of these microphones because I actually altered my signal chain as well. That's going to be the biggest difference, really, in addition to the microphone change. I took my BBE Sonic Maximizer just completely out of the signal chain because it was really screwing things up. I had a hunch that that was it a couple weeks in, and I should have really taken it out then. But I kind of was sitting there A-Bing, and I was like, well, it does sound better with it when I have my headphones on. But on other systems and with other speakers and stuff, it just does not sound right. It does some kind of weird phase canceling or something to certain parts of the signal. And because of that, it takes out lots and lots of information that is really needed to have a well-rounded signal, I think, especially when you're doing compression and you're uploading stuff online. Taking that out of the signal chain, new microphone, should sound a lot better. But let's get into the news. So first off, in the news, we have this story. Rob Chapman is now the co-owner of another guitar company and a pickup brand. It says the Chapman Guitars co-founder announces he has part ownership of the U.S. Cerberus Guitars and Guitarmory Pickups. Apparently, Rob Chapman owns a stake in both of these companies, which is interesting because, you know, he has his own guitar company to begin with. So why would he go invest in another guitar company, Cerberus Guitars in California, unless it was giving him some kind of distribution advantage or manufacturing advantage in the U.S., possibly. I don't know. But let's see what he says about it here on this Instagram post.
I am beyond excited to say that I am now the co-owner of 2 new American, Californian-based businesses, Cerberus Guitars and Guitarmory Pickups. So where Chapman kind of knocks on the door of heavy, pointy, scary guitars, Cerberus runs through that door, up the hill, and continues onwards toward battle. We have a USA custom shop, and we do imports as well. Guitarmory makes boutique, custom shop, zero compromise, super high quality, custom pickups in California. You might remember me putting Guitarmory into the first ever Chapman guitar. Here they are. We can make anything, P90, single coils, humbuckers, relict, aged, the whole shebang. My new acquisitions, involvements with Guitarmory and Cerberus will not distract me from my normal day-to-day duties at Chapman. I'm really excited to bring you along with me on this journey. If you have any questions about any of this, you can just ask me if you would like. I'm pretty much normal.
Well, you know, he may say that this isn't going to distract him at all from his duties at Chapman, but, you know, I mean, I just know this from experience that when you start multiple veins of revenue or multiple activities, any watering down of your focus is definitely going to change the way that you conduct yourself or the way you do business. And, you know, that may not be his intent, but my guess is this probably is going to be somewhat of a distraction at least. And also it's just kind of confusing, just the fact, why would I'm struggling to figure out what he's doing here and why. You know, I can understand it if you're getting some kind of distribution advantages on a different continent, that makes sense, or manufacturing advantages, like for your existing guitar line. But why you would venture into a completely different name brand, I don't know. And unless he's going to have Guitarmory make like USA custom pickups for Chapman guitars that can be installed in Chapman guitars also, that relationship also makes, I don't know, dubious sense to me. But anyway, to each his own, and you know, it's his business, not mine. And who am I to say what he should do? I mean, I'm nobody, right? But it does bring to mind this also, where I saw that Rabea Massaad was leaving Chapman Guitars, and I just kind of have to wonder if perhaps the two are linked somehow.
All right, guys, how you doing? It's Rabea. I've decided to leave Chapman Guitars as a signature artist. Basically, I've been thinking about this for a long time, and I guess I just feel like I need to kind of do something for myself, like just go out there and just on my own, if that makes sense, from Chapman Guitars, because I've been with them since the very beginning of like my career. Basically, yeah, they sort of believed in me as an artist from a long time ago, before I was even doing anything, and so that's why this was such a difficult decision, because I'm a big believer in being loyal to your friends and to your family, of course. So yeah, I'm eternally grateful for their support. You know, I just feel like I want to move on for like myself. I don't know where the road goes kind of thing, but I just feel like I want to just see what happens, if that makes sense.
Okay, so yeah, as you could hear right there, he's leaving Chapman Guitars. You know, I have to wonder if these things are somehow linked. Maybe not overtly linked, but you know, somewhere in the subterranean recesses of everyone's subconscious minds, if these are somehow linked, you know, that everybody's growing apart, or, you know, I do know that didn't Rob move to the continent? You know, he moved out of the UK to the continent, somewhere Greece or Malta, something like that. So, I mean, I guess, you know, out of sight, out of mind. You know, when you have friends like that too, sometimes you have friends at a distance, you know, not that you grow apart necessarily, because when you're in the same room, you know, things kind of pick right back up where you left off. But if you're not there all the time and hanging out, the relationship does kind of distance a bit. So I wonder if maybe that's part of it. The rationalist in me sees that that's probably the case, that he just wants to do something else, and this relationship has kind of grown a bit cold. But the tabloid journalist in me says, you know, Rob probably hit on his girlfriend, or there's some kind of other maybe more salacious reason. That's a joke. In other news, I saw this where Reverb has revealed the best-selling guitars of 2022. They seem to do this every year. And if you look at the list, you can see that PRS, man, is really kicking some butt. It's talking about, in this article, how the Silver Sky did drop down. It was third last year, and now it's fourth. But still, man, PRS is really holding its own with the big boys, Fender and Gibson, according to this list. Fender is far and away, you know, the big dog on the block still here. But PRS, man, is holding the number one spot with its Silver Sky SE version of the Silver Sky. And then the fourth place is the American version of the Silver Sky, John Mayer's signature. Then you've got another PRS at 10th. That is the SE Custom 24. And then down at 20th, you have PRS once again with the CE 24, which I think is probably their best model. You know, I had a CE 24 that I recently sold. It was a red one, and I loved the hell out of it. I really wish I could have kept it, but, you know, I'll be honest with you, I'm falling behind on some things, and some things are going to have to go. And if this channel doesn't pick up a little bit better than it has been in recent memory, then probably going to have to find something else to do. I'll be frank with you. And that's why I'm begging you guys, support the channel if you want to see more of this channel, and if you want to see more of this type of content. If I can't make up the loss of revenue from losing sponsors and also being demonetized by YouTube because of the things I say, frankly, then we're going nowhere. Back on the subject, Fender holds a lot of these positions: 2, 3, 5, 8. You drop down, you see Squiers are surprisingly much lower on the list, 13 to 16 rather. And then the 18th position, then you have the American Standard Stratocaster at 17. They've got the American Standard Stratocaster on here twice. I'm not sure what that's about. That's got to be some kind of mistake. And then this goes on to talk about that perhaps the biggest shock is the fact that Tim Henson's recently released Ibanez TOD-10N occupies the 5th spot. Okay, this TOD-10N, Tim Henson is the guitarist from the band Polyphia. I'm sure everybody is probably familiar by now with the band Polyphia. They seem to be proliferated. Polyphia has proliferated the guitar internet space in about, I don't know, the past year or two. Seems like they're pretty much everywhere, and you can't get away from it. And I'll be honest with you, I kind of wish I could get away from it because I can't stand this band. I really can't. I've tried to suffer my way through a few videos of theirs, and man, I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm just too old or something, but I'll tell you what it is. It's cold. It's very cold. It's unfeeling. The technical prowess is certainly evident in this music. And I like instrumental music as much as the next guy also, but it needs to take me on some kind of journey. You know, it can't be just like some 3 to 5 minute song that's just a bunch of fretboard gymnastics. You know, that's why I never really listened to a lot of just pure shredder stuff. You know, I do like that stuff. I like to sample it and see who's doing what. And, you know, back in the day, you know, I would listen to like Racer X or Marty Friedman solo albums or Yngwie Malmsteen solo stuff, or, you know, every now and then some Steve Vai stuff, and just to see what those guys were up to and how, you know, the technicality of the instrument was progressing. That's fine, and it has its place. However, man, I can't listen to more than a few minutes of this stuff without it just getting really old really fast. And I don't know, you guys tell me what you think. Have you heard any Polyphia stuff? Do you like this Polyphia stuff? I mean, I could sit here and react to something. I don't want to do that because I really don't want to have to deal with getting a copyright claim and then having to go through all the mess of, you know, having to dispute the claim and all that stuff. So I'm not gonna do a reaction. I'm not a reaction channel anyway, so I'm not doing that crap. But the other day I was watching one of these, and it's just like, okay, so it starts out softly enough with Tim Henson. You know, he's like relaxing in this ultra white modernist looking house, and everything is just pristine looking, and he's here with all these pretentious ass tattoos all over himself, and the lighting is such that there's not a flaw in his skin, and it's just so washed. It's just so whitewashed of everything that one might say gives something personality, a genuine personality, and a unique personality, frankly. This is the kind of stuff, this Instagrammy lifestyle look, first of all. And it's not even just about the look. It's about the sound of the band. Each player is absolutely technically marvelous, virtuosic, in fact. But the music lacks all emotion. Everything that a human could attach an emotion to is just gone out of it. Even by shredder standards, it's gone. One thing I could always say about Yngwie, for instance, you could listen to Yngwie stuff, and you could listen to a lot of the sweeping stuff, and after a while, it does get pretty old. But Yngwie has got so much passion in his playing, even when he's doing, the sweeps and everything. And eventually, though, he hits a note and bends the hell out of it. And you can see immediately that this guy listened to a lot of Hendrix, and he's got a lot of soul in there underneath it all, And there's a gypsy soul in there as well that's hidden within Yngwie's music. That is apparent, that is moving, at times. I mean, there are certain times and passages in Yngwie's stuff where it's just like, wow, your butt clenching, and he's going up the scale, and you're just like, shit, that's awesome, I just don't get that. I don't get any of that with this band. It's just like, look what I can do. I can show off, and I can tippy tap, and I can do I could do all kinds of harmonics, and I could do harmonics and then go immediately back to doing fretted notes down here and then skip up to harmonic. Fuck's sake. Who gives a shit? Who gives a single solitary shit about any of that? I think fewer and fewer guitarists, fewer and fewer actual music lovers, if you're honest with yourselves, should see the value in this stuff. The only people who really see the value in that kind of stuff are up and coming players who aspire to play like that. And I was once one of them, so I know what that's like. I know what it's like to listen to Paul Gilbert and think, oh my God, that is just incredible. But Paul Gilbert, with as alien as his playing style is, and as clinical as his pick attack and everything is, he still has more, light years more feel in his playing than this guy, than Tim Henson, or this band in general. It's just overproduced. And, back on this guitar, just the guitar itself, the signature model, in my opinion, these things sound like total ass. I cannot understand for the life of me why would you, if a band the size of Polyphia, and with probably at this point as much revenue as they have generated for themselves, why they would not set aside a little bit of money to get an actual acoustic nylon string and record with that, I have no idea why you wouldn't do that. Because an actual recorded nylon string guitar can sound beautiful with mic'd up in the right room, under the right circle. It could sound absolutely gorgeous in the right acoustic environment, but yet he's playing this piece of crap. No offense to Ibanez. They didn't even want to make this guitar for him. I saw another interview or something with him where he was like, I told him that I wanted this guitar, and they said, what was it? Oh yeah, this was another thing that just rubbed me way wrong. He asked Ibanez to make this signature model for him, and at first they were kind of like, we tried that model before, and it, the one that he was already playing, And they were like, it wasn't a good seller. And he's like, well, you know, if you don't do it, someone else will be glad to do it, kind of thing. It's like, I'm big enough, I could go anywhere, I'm sure, you know. Just that sort of arrogance that comes along with a little bit of stardom, I guess. But so they make him this guitar, and honestly, man, these things sound so bad. A piezo in a nylon string sounds like a great idea because it's one of the only ways that you could do it live, right? I mean, without whisper quiet atmosphere. At a rock show, you can't really just mic up an acoustic the way that you would love to do in a nice auditorium where the audience is respectful. You know, in a classical guitar setting, you know, the audience is generally more respectful than in a rock setting. So you can have that atmosphere. You could sit down with a real guitar and have decent sound, you know, out of the thing in a live setting. But this, anything with piezo in it, it is not going to sound good. It's got that just tinniness to it. Even with steel string piezos, they all have this tone that's just really grating to me, really lifeless, really cold, really just, I don't know, lacking in anything. To me, that sounds good. It just does not sound good. I had one of those Godin classicals for a while, and even though I liked the guitar at the time, you know, over time I just got to notice, like, you know, when I actually tried to plug it in and play, it's like, man, this thing just doesn't really sound good, does it? No, it doesn't. So I would always go back to my actual acoustic. But anyway, that, you know, if you like Polyphia, more power to you. If you like the sound of this particular type of guitar, or this, if you own this signature guitar and you love it, more power to you. I'm not telling you what to like. I couldn't care less what you like. Although you're free to tell me down in the comments what you like and don't like about my opinions, but they are my opinions and I'm going to express them. I don't like this guitar. I don't like Polyphia. And this trend, it just this general trend toward this Instagram guitarist thing has really just contributed to the death of real music. I was talking to a friend of mine on the phone the other day, and he was like, yeah, you know, I can't stand the Rolling Stones because they're always out of tune. And I was like, dude, but the Rolling Stones had so much feel in their music. It doesn't, you know, whether an instrument is a little bit out of tune, you can overlook that because it more than makes up for it in the swagger and the feel and just the, you know, the balls out attitude, right? It doesn't have to be sonically immaculate for the attitude or the soul of a piece of music to come across. You know, I would much prefer a band's sound to be more raw, to be less produced, you know, in their recording, to sound worse, you know, by modern recording standards, and their songwriting be better. I would much prefer good songs with bad recordings than bad songs with pristine recordings. And I think if you're honest with yourselves, there isn't a single one of you who wouldn't agree with that, surely, you know? Because it's all about the song. It's all about the human emotion. It's all about how something grabs you. And man, you know, your mind can work itself around these imperfections, you know, whether something is slightly out of tune. It just becomes unimportant after a minute if you're actually paying attention to the emotional content, the lyrical content of a good song, right? Anyway, enough of that.
And that's all I have to say about that.
In other news, I saw this. I thought this was kind of cool. And this just reminds me of, you know, really what it's all about. You know, once again, this kid right here who has cerebral palsy, and these students have 3D printed him this device to help him pick because he has a, you know, he has a tough time with his hands.
McKinley Senior High School freshman Nehemiah Culver says performing music has taken him to a place he's never been before. The moment he picks up this guitar, he feels and hears something special.
When I listen to music, I like hear different notes.
The 15-year-old who was born with cerebral palsy always dreamt of playing guitar, but didn't know if it was possible.
But as you can see here at the bottom, it still had the slot for the pick.
Through innovation and collaboration within the Canton City School District, it became a reality.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
So, yeah, just a heartwarming story. This, to me, this kind of thing is really what it's all about. The heart and soul of music, of people. It's not about showing off how many badass runs you can make up and down the fretboard. Although I'm as guilty as the next guy of doing that kind of stuff. When I pick up a guitar, it's just kind of what I gravitate toward automatically because it brings me joy. But this kid is garnering just as much joy from even being able to make sound at all. So that's, to me, it's what it's all about. Now, I do have one criticism of the design that they were doing. Maybe they had already thought of this and tried this, but it looked to me like the way he was holding his hand, like he had a kind of a hook thing going on, and it might have actually been better instead of having a wristband that's down here with a 3D printed pick holder on the wrist. It might have been better because he kind of had this finger protruding like this a little bit. It might have been better to have some kind of ring on the finger that held the pick, because then he could more precisely control it. Whereas back here, you have to move your whole arm to control something, and here at least you can kind of, if you have any wrist movement at all, you might be able to employ the wrist. But again, who am I to criticize? Then I saw this. So the TSA, I didn't know that they had their own YouTube channel, but they do. The TSA has a YouTube channel, and not only that, but they have apparently 80,000 people have subscribed to the TSA's YouTube channel. And they've managed to get a check mark without a verified account, without actually crossing 100,000 subscribers. So they're getting the gold star treatment from YouTube here. But check this out. So they've released their top 10 catches of 2022, and the guitar makes an appearance here. Let's check this out.
We are counting down TSA's top 10 catches this year. If you're not sure what will fly, you can always lean on us. Just don't lean on this next idea. Number 10, soiled money crutches. It's hard to imagine someone thinking this idea didn't stink. Number 9, inert grenade. Let's put a pin in this idea permanently. Don't bring this. Number 8, cattle prod guitar case. This shocking find wasn't music to our ears.
So somebody actually tried to load, it looks like 2 or 3 cattle prods in with a gig bag and carry it on. I guess they were trying to carry it on. So they were disallowed, obviously, from carrying on cattle prods.
I'll take care of this. Calm down. Calm down. Get a hold of yourself.
Doctor, you're wanted on the phone. Everything's going to be all right. Please.
Sister, please, I'll handle this.
Don't try to carry on cattle prods, folks. Then I saw this. It's funny to me every time that guitar is used as a weapon, and this is yet another example of that.
Singer-songwriter Hardy is in the ring with the enforcer, so is the call. No! What? Get out of the ring. Hardy! Get out of the ring. Run as fast as your little legs will take you. Get out. Go to Memphis. Maybe try Texas.
What is it about moving extremely slowly that makes someone imposing? Just like if you're moving extremely slowly, it's like you could just start running circles around him and smacking him on the head, right? Why is this a problem? I wouldn't even have to run away from this guy. Just basically walk. You could saunter away from him. Now, this is kind of genuinely scary right here. There's all kinds of things that could go wrong. Right on a baby grand piano. I haven't seen this much musical instrument destruction since the last Who concert. In other news, I wanted to cover some of just the very bad journalism that exists in the guitar community. Or I say community. For what it's worth. So this article, the News Courier had this article here by a Taylor Lane. The truth behind factory-made guitars. It's just basically regurgitated. I mean, this could have been written by AI, honestly. Your generic run-of-the-mill guitar article. And what's funny about it is it just gives this bad advice. It's like, pick up some sandpaper and a file from the hardware store and sand any jagged edges on the frets or neck. If needed, file the grooves the strings set in on the nut. I mean, you didn't tell them what kind of file to get. You didn't point them to a specific file for the nut. You're just sending them to get a file. You know? It makes no sense to offer this kind of loose advice, just bad advice, you know, even if it's for clickbait. It's just you're going to mess somebody up with this stuff. I mean, a better advice would be if you suspect your guitar has playing issues, take it to a tech or a luthier to have those issues sorted out, instead of go get a file and some sandpaper and do it yourself. You know, because anybody who reads an article like this for genuine advice is not going to know any different anyway. They're the ones who most need the actual consultation of a real tech, not, you know, who can look at the instrument, not some random asshat. Just silly stuff. And here also they're claiming that a better output jack make all the difference in what? I mean, a better output jack? I mean, okay. If it's, you know, if it's crackling or something maybe, but you're just filling people's heads with a lot of nonsense, man. Stop putting this stuff out here, guys. You may be asking why you should spend money to make a cheap guitar better. The answer is simple. It goes back to the idea of paying luxury prices for a prestige brand on the headstock. Well, the problem is also you're paying for the extra time it took a qualified technician or luthier to properly build the instrument in the first place or set it up in the first place before it leaves the factory. You can make a factory-made guitar sound the same or comparable to an American-made. Yes, that's true, but you're not going to be able to do that yourself, especially if you're reading this article for advice. You aren't going to be able to do that.
You didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen.
You know, somebody who knows what they're doing might be able to do that. Stop giving bad advice. For example, if you take an economy Telecaster or Stratocaster from Squier for $200, you upgrade it over time with American-made Fender parts, and at the end of the day, you will essentially have an American Fender guitar with a Squier body for approximately half or less of the price of an American Fender guitar. That's not necessarily true at all. I'll tell you what you're going to end up with. You're going to end up with a guitar that you've put a lot of money in over time that is still going to be a $200 guitar despite all the upgrades. Because anytime when you go to sell that Squier, even if you put in the listing, oh, I've upgraded it with these pickups, and it has these tuners, and it has all this extra crap on it, you aren't getting any of that money back. It's just not going to happen. This is just, again, it's just bad advice. What you should really do is get, you know, a better model used. The depreciation has already happened to someone else. The minute they bought it new and left the store with it, they took the hit on the depreciation, not you. So what's going to happen is you buy that guitar, you take good care of it, you play the hell out of it, and when you come to sell it later on, you're going to get as much or more from it than what you paid for it. So basically, you played that thing for years for free instead of sinking a bunch of money into something over time and then not being able to get all the additional upgrade money out of it. That's just, you know, again, bad advice, bad guitar journalism. Here's another example. This one is just, I don't know what these people are thinking. Pro Sound HQ. How long guitar pickups really last? This was sent to me by William Land, who's a viewer of the channel here. And yeah, just, I can't believe some of the stuff they put in here. I know when I first started playing electric guitar, I had no idea that guitar pickups started to deteriorate over time. The lifespan of a guitar pickup is one of the least talked about issues when it comes to how good your guitar sounds, but you shouldn't overlook it. In this article, I'll go through exactly why and how guitar pickups age, what old pickups sound like, and how they change over time. It also addresses how you can make your pickups last longer and how to know it's time to swap them out. So let's get started. I mean, wow. If you have Alnico magnet pickups, yes, over time, Alnico magnets, aluminum nickel cobalt magnets, do lose their magnetism. They can be remagnetized or regaussed after losing this magnetism. So it's not always a case of just pull the pickup out and just swap it out with a new one, on this 1964 Fender because, the pickups are bad. It's just one size fits all advice here. Old pickups usually sound much weaker, quieter, and flatter. Old pickups usually sound much weaker, quieter, and flatter. I mean, what idiot is giving this advice? This is like the guy who, I've been playing for 2 years now. I know everything there is to know about guitar.
You're not Dr. Stewart.
No, but I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
It's like, dude, unless you've really been around for a while, probably just keep your mouth shut on some stuff. Man, you've really missed the mark on who the audience is as well for this kind of article. Before we jump into the nitty-gritty of how guitar pickups actually age, we need to really be clear about their structure. Feel free to skip ahead if you're already clued up on this topic. Well, let's just go ahead and skip ahead, shall we? Okay, what happens over time to the structure? First thing that happens to your pickups, they lose their magnetism as it becomes weaker. This often happens naturally over the course of many years. Some people believe that this process is accelerated if you keep your guitar close to other magnets. Speakers, however, this probably doesn't make... Yes, it does! Yes, that does make a difference. However, this probably doesn't make all that much difference. Yeah, that will change the magnetism. If you have a really powerful magnet that gets near your guitar pickups, it can degauss your pickups. If they're like Alnico pickups. If they're ceramic magnet pickups, it might not matter. And ceramic magnet pickups, they don't really lose their magnetism like Alnicos do, but this article doesn't delineate between the two. It doesn't talk about that. Second thing that can happen is bobbin deterioration. Really? The bobbin holds the magnets upright, so if this starts to corrode and break down, then the magnets will shift. I've never had this happen on any magnet on any pickup that I can recall. I don't think I've ever had this happen. Ever. I think this is completely made up. Have any of you guys ever had this happen? I mean, I have owned hundreds of guitars, literally. Maybe even probably over 1,000 guitars have passed through my hands that I've owned and sold and traded and all this stuff. Easily, I would say 1,000 guitars. I've never seen this. I've never seen this. And I worked at a music store as well, so we had thousands of guitars that would come through. I don't think I've ever seen this happen, where the bobbin became weak. However, this is usually more of an issue with vintage guitars compared to modern guitars. I mean, even on vintage guitars, it's just bad advice, once again. Most newer guitars are either potted with wax or shellac, which prevents bobbin deterioration. That isn't why they pot pickups. Maybe it has that additional effect of preventing long-term deterioration of a bobbin, but that's not why they do it. Man, I don't know, dude. This is just some pulling crap out of your ass so you can have a clickbaity article. This is just bad. It's just bad writing, bad journalism, poorly thought out advice, and even from what otherwise might sound like a reputable website, prosoundhq.com. Old and worn out pickups usually sound weaker and flatter. This is because they have weaker output, causing them to sound quieter and not as punchy. This is just nonsense. They also tend to sound flatter and more muffled. This is due to weakened treble response. That isn't always the case either, because sometimes as magnets become weaker, the treble response will actually go up. It'll become tinier and you'll lose a little bit of bass. It just depends. It totally depends on it, because a pickup is an interaction between the strength of magnets, the type of magnets, mostly the strength, and the number of windings, the size of the bobbin, the whole, all of that interacts to create this field, and then how close the strings are to that, what type of string material. There's a lot that goes into that. And just to make blanket statements like this and say, unfortunately, aged pickups can start to lose some of this treble. This makes them sound flat and less crisp and clear. Single coil pickups tend to age best out of any type of pickup. This is because magnets take longer to lose their magnetism. Why would the magnets in a single coil, I don't know. Humbuckers and P90s generally use softer magnets, which causes them to weaken a bit more quickly than... This is absolute bunk. What are they doing here? This had to have been... This is one of those articles. This has to be one of those articles that was written by AI. You know, because I was going to actually cover this at some point. There are these new apps and sites that you can go to where you can basically tell an AI bot to write you an article on this subject. And you can give it a couple of specifics, and then, you know, it'll write you an article, or write me a biography on Taylor Swift, you know, and it'll write you a very convincing sounding biography on Taylor Swift. And I think that that's what's going on here. A lot of these sites are just putting up ads. They're putting Google ads up, and they're populating their site with a bunch of nonsense that's been AI generated. But if this really was written by this person, then this is nuts. Active pickups have a very high output, but unfortunately they lose a lot of this pretty quickly. Do they? Do they really? I don't know that that's true at all. I've had active pickup sets from 30 years ago that are still pretty damn hot. I don't get it. Where's this coming from? How long do pickups take to age? In most cases, your pickups will last many years before they start to deteriorate. In most cases, you won't even notice this happening. However, if you've had your pickups for over five years, and you start to notice your tone becoming a bit weaker and flatter, then it could be worth taking your guitar to the store to get it checked out. You know, don't take it to the store. Don't take it to the store for fret ends. Just get a file yourself and just go after it with sandpaper. But you know, if your pickups, if you notice your tone's going weak, don't jump to strings. You know, don't replace your strings. Just conclude that it's most likely your pickups that are deteriorating after 5 years. Wow. Most single coil pickups take around 6 months to 1 year to sound their best, and then you may notice the tonal quality deteriorate after half a decade. This is absolute insanity. So they have to have a break-in period now. Oh my God. This is so dumb. I don't even know where to go with this now. Passive humbuckers and P90s are quicker to break in and usually sound their best after 6 months or so. This is stupidity. And the problem is you're going to get these jackasses, these complete mouth-breathing jackasses are going to repeat this stuff on, you know, the gear page or something, thinking that they're correct. And they're just going to be, it's going to be like the Flat Earth Society. You know, pickups deteriorate after 5. And you're just going to get, man, they'll be entrenched, dude. You won't ever be able to convince them otherwise. There isn't a great deal you can do to slow down this aging process. If you're using common sense and keeping your pickups clean and free from dust and grime, then you're doing everything right. Yes, you can remagnetize pickups. It doesn't even talk about the types of magnets. How can you have... Oh, here we go. Here's why. Heather. Was this written by Heather?
I can take many times much more love just because you can give it. I take it all.
It's a bit like making love to a car GPS, isn't it?
Heather is the bot.
This is an irrational human behavior to want to tell jokes.
Hey, I'm Heather. I started playing electric guitar when I was given a Squier Strat for my birthday around 15 years ago. Now I'm an acoustic guitar. Okay, this is a diversity hire. We had to have Heather here write this article. This is absolute... Heather, bless your heart, honey. This is just... I have 2 daughters. You know, this isn't about whether or not someone is a girl, or I couldn't give a crap less about that. But I mean, why is this person writing articles like this? How is this passing editorial muster? This or this other one, this factory made guitar. This is less egregious, but still, man, this is what I'm talking about. And then we've got stuff like this that just keeps, regardless of how many times new research has debunked this crap, you get these journalists, these guitar journalists, still saying stuff like Les Paul's log guitar changed everything, and that it was the world's first solid body electric guitar. That isn't even close to being true. It's not even the world's first solid body Spanish electric guitar. It's not even the world's first Spanish wooden electric guitar. I mean, we've talked about all this before, you know, but regardless of how many times new scholarly work comes forward to point out that how much of this stuff is wrong, you know, it still gets repeated and repeated and repeated. It's just, it never goes away. You know, I guess they think, what else are you going to say about this log guitar? I mean, you could say all the same stuff, just don't call it the world's first solid body electric guitar, because it's not. And Les Paul did not invent the solid body electric guitar, even the electric guitar at all. Far from it. You know, it's just, but it keeps getting repeated, and I cannot understand why. So once again, it's just bad journalism. And you know, and I'm not coming down on this writer, Justin Beckner, or Guitar.com. I'm not singling you guys out or anything. I just think we should hold ourselves to a higher standard. If we're going to print this stuff, then hold yourself to a standard. You know, fact check a little bit. Don't just repeat crap because you read it somewhere else. You have to go to the source. Seek out original sources in your writing. Always. Don't just copy somebody else's writing or say, oh, this guy on Twitter claimed this and I read this in a thing, you know. And if that's the only source that you can find, then by all means cite that as the source and leave a caveat. This is my source. It could be wrong. I've reached out for a comment and haven't heard back yet, so this may be wrong. You know, be responsible in your journalism. Don't just throw crap out there and see what sticks, kind of thing, you know. You know, here's another example. It's just like in our quest to see more women players, you know, they're trying desperately, man, to just, you know, we've got a lot of women are playing guitar, which that's true. I think that is true. More women are playing now than ever before. That's a great thing. I highly encourage it. Again, I've got 2 daughters. I wish both of them would love to play. I haven't been able to convince either of them to start yet. My littlest one is starting on drums, so that's cool. I'm all for girls and women, man. Come on in. The water's warm, you know what I'm saying? But this kind of stuff right here, just it really irks me, because it's like, you know, just the way it's presented. Meet Sofia Victoria, the girl dominating social media with her self-made guitar. Well, she has 60,000 TikTok followers, so that's her claim to fame, but that hardly means that she's dominating anything yet. I mean, maybe she'll grow to dominate, and maybe she's really good. I don't know. I haven't seen any of her videos, but that's beside the point. My point is, it's astroturfing. It's astroturfing. This is Guitar.com trying to make it seem as if there are more women guitarists than there actually are. Now, there are a lot of great women guitarists whose channels are starting to take off, who are getting a lot of traction, who are doing great. I mean, it's not starting. There's women who've been doing it for a while and doing really well at it, a lot better than most men. But again, Rachel Roberts has bestowed this upon us, and that's cool. That's cool. Got another female guitar writer, which is fine. Not a problem. But check your biases, man, you know, a little bit. And it's cool to highlight. I'm not saying it wouldn't be cool to highlight this female guitarist either. It is cool, and it's great for her. But, you know, how many other great guitarists have you ignored in your quest to show this one very pretty girl? You know, probably a lot, right? Probably a lot. So here we go. Here's one of the other articles that this Rachel Roberts has written. Meet Delilah Bond, the guitarist empowering women and non-binary people in rock with new metal tones, girl gang vocals. You know, there's not a thing wrong. You know, focus on the things you want to focus on. That's perfectly fine. But you see a lot of this now. It's become women and non-binary people. And I'll give you another example of that. And we're seeing this everywhere all of a sudden, as if women and non-binary people are one and the same, or they're part of the same group. You see what they're trying to do? They're trying to make women and non-binary people part of a group that is against men. You know, we're on this team. We claim all the non-binaries, even if they started life as a man and became non-binary, or they started life as a woman and became non-binary at some point in their journey. We claim them on the women's side regardless. It just makes no fucking sense. You know, makes no sense. Other than there's just an agenda that they're trying to push forward, and it really shows, and it's gotten really sort of obvious. Here's another example. This article by Cillian Brethnach, which I probably mispronounced, probably butchering that name, and I'm sorry. I think it's Welsh, maybe. And I think it may be this person. I've actually contacted this person in an email before because they were the ones who was writing the articles about the Boaz guitars, but at first kind of falsely claimed that I was some kind of, or insinuated, made it sound like I was some kind of brains behind the throne or something. But we got that cleared up, so that's good. But that was one journalistic kind of faux pas there. But, you know, obviously there's an agenda. These are the biggest guitar news stories of 2022. And if you were to think of what were the biggest guitar news stories of 2022, you know, you might think of 4 out of these 5, but would you have guessed that it was this? Women and non-binary players make up less than 6% of signature guitar market, study finds. That should actually tell you something really important. It should tell you that study that Fender came out with several years ago, that was put out by Egg Strategy, was BS. That said that, you know, now the majority of guitar players, or about half of guitar players, were now women, or new guitar buyers or something like that were women. Which, what's your methodology? Where are you getting this? You know, I mean, I made a whole video about that at the time. It was just ripping it to shreds. It's not a study, dude. It's PR. It's based on nothing. But that's what they're doing. Okay, the study finds. But again, this is not a study. This is just somebody's survey based on criteria that they themselves have come up with of what constitutes a signature guitar, what constitutes a guitar company, even. You know, they are the ones who make the parameters. The reference here is from this Find My Guitar, but there's no link. So I did go ahead and find the original link, and it comes back to this website. It's just a website, Find My Guitar. And if you scroll, it's just a bunch of ads. This whole site is just nothing but ads. And that's really all this is. Look, top 5 guitars. And if you were to click through on this, it would take you probably to a review page, and then it would take you to somewhere you could buy it. That would be like affiliate link or something, you know. So again, this is just another website that's been set up to funnel people into buying whatever, and they get a cut of it if they funnel you to to buy something. So again, it's just citing nonsense created by very bad journalists. The citation here is dubious at best. Women and non-binary players make up less than... Why would they put those two things together? I mean, wouldn't it make a better headline to say women make up... Because if you exclude the one non-binary person from this study, this Tash Sultana, who actually is a female, I mean, let's be honest, it's a female calling itself non-binary, then it's going to look even worse because it'll be lower percentage, right? But they're grouping of women and non-binary. We are one group. We are a community. It's just, come on, man. It's so transparent. So you got to stop this stuff. And you even know it. You even know that it's nonsense. You know, you acknowledge that there are arguments against it. Just looking at signature offerings perhaps doesn't give the fullest picture, but in highlighting this discrepancy, the study also gave us slightly more anecdotal indication of the cultural change that still needs to happen. After our coverage, we received plenty of furious comments and emails telling us, in short, to stuff the woke nonsense and stick to guitars. This was despite the news story being about guitars and how to make the guitar industry welcoming to new people who want to play guitars. Funny that. I agree with that part. I agree with the part you said there about, you know, somebody saying, drop the woke nonsense and stick to guitars. I get that kind of crap all the time. Man, you need to stop talking politics and just stick to guitars. Well, dude, everything relates to guitars that I just talked about. It's like the politics of guitars. You know what I mean? It's how this cultural crap intersects with the thing that we love, which is guitar. And this is interesting to me, and it should be interesting to you as well. So I have no problem with you talking about this stuff, but I think that you should do a better job of choosing your citations, perhaps, and choosing your arguments. And if you're going to, I'll tell you what would be better than citing some outside source, Find My Guitar. What you should do is do a survey yourself and say, we at guitar.com, we looked at all of the top 10 guitar companies. We looked at their current catalogs online or on their website. We did a complete survey of all of the signature guitars that they offer, and here's what we came up with. Instead of citing some outside study, just do the work yourself. You know, that makes a lot more sense, and it's a lot more credible, and that way you can show your work, you know, if somebody questions it. But here you've cited something that, you know, we really can't, it's hard for us to go back and redo the work. You would have to be determined to go redo everything that they just did. Otherwise, you're just taking their word for it. And then the other problem with it is that you're combining women and non-binary players into one group. I mean, non-binary, this is just pushing an agenda, dude. This whole non-binary thing, this was not a thing when we were growing up. I'm going to tell you, Cillian or whatever your name is, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. This was not a thing when my generation was growing up. I'm Gen X, man. This was non-binary, was not a 6, okay? And you would have been looked at as a complete fool if you said something like that. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of times now you still are. It's just a lot of people are biting their tongues because the big tech people are for some reason on your side right now. That may change eventually. You never know. You know, it's changing at Twitter, right? It could change eventually at YouTube as well, and you might not like the results. Right now, at least, you know, Big Brother's kind of on your side. They're protecting you from ridicule that is oftentimes deserved. Not that people who feel non-binary are deserving of ridicule. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that the idea that we should be pushing this as an agenda, which it is being pushed as an agenda, is a good idea. It's not. It's not a good idea to make people want to be an aberration from the norm. Hey, you young kids. I know that a certain percentage of you young kids, you're disaffected and you're disconcerted and you're looking for your way in life and you're confused and, you know, you're all going through special changes, you know, and so you feel weird anyway, and everybody does at this age because it's puberty, you know. But right now, at your most vulnerable moment, we're going to fill your head with a bunch of absolute nonsense, you know, so hopefully you come to our side politically. That is what's going on in the world right there. That's what's happening. Happens every day. And we are being forced to kind of look the other way while it happens by the big tech companies, because I am going to be demonetized on this video It absolutely will be. Even though I haven't cussed throughout this. I've been very civil, I think, in the way I've presented these arguments. I certainly haven't said anything that is hateful, calling for any violence, none of that stuff. But somehow, magically, this will be ad restricted, this video. And when I ask for a manual review, the manual person will come on and say, yep, that's right. That's right. Then they won't tell you why you're being ad restricted, but they'll just say, that's right. You know, and just take that, you cis white male conservative, whatever. Take that. We're just like, okay, all right, man. You know what? I'm going to keep saying what I want to say. And if you guys keep supporting it, I'll keep doing it. Links in the description. I need your help. This will not happen without you. I have no sponsors right now. First of all, if you're interested in sponsorships, links down in the description where you can contact me. And but if you want to keep this kind of stuff going, man, if you want pushback on this stuff that's coming at us, I'll do it, but I have to have support. I can't do it alone, and the ads won't be there for me. Not only will the ads not be there on this video, but because this video gets ad restricted, it will look to the algorithm like my audience is fleeing because they've cut off my reach for this video. And then the next one automatically goes to the reach that this one got as a default. So you have to build a channel. You have to build an audience and go upward. And they do everything they can to screw you in this way. But they're doing it because they have an agenda. They want to push this crap. Anyway, the rest of this article is good. I have no problem with any of the rest of this stuff. And actually, I think it's pretty accurate with what the big stories were. Western Electric confirms plans to tackle the tube crisis with its Georgia factory. That definitely was a big story. I think these other articles are probably accurate. Fender laying off people, that's definitely a big story. Gibson, the Gibson heritage antitrust thing, yeah, it's definitely a big story. And Dean. And I think to people who are, who are interested in this kind of story, to them it probably is a big story. But, the problem for me is one of citation, and it's one of a false premise. Because they're basing what they're saying with this is we need more signature guitars that are women for women. But the problem with that is there aren't as many women guitarists as you guys seem to think that there are. Maybe it's true that more women are coming into this market. More women are starting to learn over the past few years. But it's not true that more women are guitar playing gods to the point where a brand should automatically give them a signature guitar. And I say this as somebody who's one of my favorite guitars that's out right now is a women's signature guitar. That St. Vincent model. I've said it repeatedly. I love that. I love that guitar. It looks killer, man. One of my favorite guitars out there. I don't care. I couldn't care less who designed it. And it's cool that it was designed by a woman. I don't care. And it deserves to sell 1 million of them because it's a good looking guitar. It looks awesome. I desire it even though I don't necessarily want to be St. Vincent or play like St. Vincent. That's not the reason I would buy one. The reason I would buy one is because it's an awesome looking guitar. But, we're kind of talking in circles here on all this stuff. You guys know where I stand on this. This isn't me hating on women. I've got 2 daughters, dude. I have a mother. I have a wife. I don't hate women. This is not misogynistic. This is just being real. The women are not playing guitar in the kinds of numbers you guys think that they are, to the point where you believe that a company could justify more than 6% of its model lineup being directed directly at women. Anyway, there's that. All right, dudes, I think that's going to do it for this Shitpost Friday. I'm not going to do any additional segments. We talked for a long, long time about a lot of different subjects. I'm going to try to do this one with very minimal editing also because it's already Thursday. Usually I would like to start these on Wednesday. That way I can film it on a Wednesday and then have all day Thursday to edit and then, put everything up on a Friday as early as possible, but that's not going to be possible this time because it's Thursday now for me. So yeah, that'll do it for this Shitpost Friday. I hope you've enjoyed it. Again, please share it. Please do consider making a donation at the PayPal link below. If you want to do a super chat, if this is live, I wholeheartedly appreciate it. Although YouTube immediately kind of confiscates like 30% of those, it's still appreciated. But, like I said, unless I do receive some kind of supplemental support above and beyond the diminishing ad revenue that this channel generates, then I'm probably going to have to find something else to do. I'm certainly not going to be able to do too many more of these types of videos because of the content. It's just, you can't talk about this stuff without Susan getting her panties in a wad. They won't let you anymore, man. This is not 2019. They are on their globalist agenda, and they're gonna ram it right down your throats unless you do something about it. And the one thing you can do that really would make a difference, it doesn't matter, man. It could be just a couple of bucks, $5, $10. Buy me a couple cups of coffee, man, for the week. Any and all support I certainly appreciate. And for now, we will see y'all later.